closer while I was downstairs. Whatever it is, it's not human.
I don't know about the night, but suffering the day is something we humans tend to be pretty good at, whether we go through the monotony of a 40-plus hour work week or deal with chronic aches and pains the older we get. Just existing can be a challenge. So what do many of us, myself included, enjoy doing with our free time? Having the shit scared out of us, of course. Suffer the Night from developer Tainted Pact and publisher Assemble Entertainment hopes to be the latest piece of media to soil your pants, and it just might. Let me give mine a check real quick.
No, bummer, bro.
Ugh, all clear. Suffer the Night plays in the first-person perspective, and the first hour of the game might lead you to believe that you're trapped in some sort of haunted house simulator. Taking place in 1989, we play as Stacy Liddon, a painter who awakens to a terrible storm that leaves her without any electricity. While scrambling to find a solution, Stacy hears a knock at the door from an unwanted visitor who bears a striking resemblance to the Grabber from 2021's The Black Phone, mixed with a bit of the Babadook. Original or not, it's pretty damn creepy. So this weirdo slides a floppy disk under your door and threatens to mess with you until you finish his game, and so Suffer the Night becomes many things. You'll stumble and fumble for items, which can sometimes be easily missed, and that's a bit frustrating. You'll also play the computer game, which feels like an old-school graphic adventure title, and somewhere down the line, Suffer the Night turns into something similar to the Saw franchise, where the Babadook Gripper dude is running a funhouse full of traps. You'll need to solve puzzles, ward off enemies, and generally try not to die. Some of the best parts of Suffer the Night are in its atmosphere and the scares. I was legit spooked at times, particularly while playing the old-school PC game and being given the option to look over my shoulder. My god, was I terrified that the pale man would be behind me, to the point where I purposely avoided looking as much as humanly possible. The second half of the game isn't quite as horrific or unnerving, but it's still fun in a campy horror sort of way. Plenty of blood and guts await, and you guessed it, some pretty terrible voice acting.
See, you're not getting out of here if you don't pay attention. That nearly flattened me.
One might be able to excuse it a bit, knowing that this is kind of the vibe Suffer the Night is going for, but still, I do think the performances could have been a bit more compelling, especially considering how moody the rest of the game is. It can take you out of the scene a bit, but overall, I found the plot of this game to be highly entertaining, always keeping me on my toes. Suffer the Night could perhaps best be described as a survival horror game eventually. Armed with a flashlight or lighter, this is unsurprisingly a very dark adventure, and I'm not just talking about the story content. This game is literally really damn dark, but thankfully you're armed with a scanner which can help you to not only discover secrets, but can also be useful in finding your way around particularly blackened areas. It's a cool mechanic in the way it looks and the way that it works too. Here's a little hint: if you ever feel stuck in this game, just pull that handy dandy device out and certain areas of interest will light up with a pink dot. You can interact with those, zoom in on them, and often that will get you the item that will progress your story forward. Still, the exploration in Suffer the Night is not perfect. With the game being so dark, it's very easy to miss particular items that are of importance, and you might skip over them and wander back and tread through areas over and over again, that whole deal, and lose a good 20 to 30 minutes doing so. But the puzzles that you come across are actually quite good and not too difficult, which I personally like. There's nothing particularly new about these puzzles, but they certainly get the job done, and they range from pushing nails down in a certain order to color matching and other brain teasers that involve pattern or number memorization. I thought they were a lot of fun. Unfortunately, when it comes to the gunplay and general combat, Suffer the Night causes players a bit more suffering. The mechanics work, but never feel amazing. The whole combat engine feels like an afterthought that can best be described as serviceable. Encounters aren't particularly thrilling, the shooting and attacking is a little bit boring, and mini-boss rooms aren't all that fun or clever either, compared to the rest of the puzzles throughout the game. A lot of the bosses, I guess you could call them, simply involved baiting them onto a certain area and then throwing a switch and then bashing away at them that way. Nothing too thrilling here. Avoiding traps is another weak point of the game, as one-hit kills are fairly common, so expect to take quite a few deaths and to repeat areas numerous times, whether a spike pops up out of nowhere or a mallet smashes down on you, just silly things like that which can often kill the pacing a bit. Neither the combat or traps are enough to ruin the game, but they do pale, in comparison to some of the finer aspects. Thankfully, a decent save system is present, and you won't need ink ribbons to use it. It should also be noted that Suffer the Night does have controller support, but it's one of those deals where it simply tries to map out a mouse keyboard layout to an Xbox controller. In my particular case, it's just not ideal. I had to manually go in and change some things around to try and get comfortable, but ultimately keyboard mouse is the best solution if you're good with it. I'm never great with keyboard mouse myself, but I think it would be great if a better solution was released by the developer. Ultimately, I also feel like the fans will make a more suitable layout, but you might have to hang tight just a little bit for that. One major problem I had was that the left stick is used to run. You have to click it in. Unfortunately, by default, you have to hold it down, and I hate when games do that, so I did go in and manually switch that, so I just had to click my left stick in once and my character would run, because there's a lot of running to be done in this game. It just makes the pace of the game move quicker. I kind of understand why it's a difficult game to map to a controller too, though, because when you are playing the computer game that's going on within the game, I know that's confusing, you have to literally push certain keys on your keyboard. I'm sure they could make it work, but I would definitely say if you are better with keyboard mouse, go that route. Visually, I thought Suffer the Night looked really great and ran well over 70 frames per second at all times on my 2070 Super at 1440p resolution with max settings. I think the menu designs are a little rough, but the lighting is quite well done, though as I mentioned, it is a very dark game and you'll need to get used to that. Creepy environments are a joy to explore, however, often creating a great sense of claustrophobia as you crawl through tight spaces. There's eerie enemies like a creepy dog doll that will haunt my dreams, and the sound design outside of the poor voice performances is really excellent and will scare the living crap out of you. From the rain pouring down to the small crunches or creepy noises in the background, Suffer the Night is a disturbing delight to listen to and looks pretty great on the right rig. The developer definitely cut some corners here or there, like the rain looking kind of lame and some low-res textures are to be found, but overall Suffer the Night has a great visual and audio atmosphere. While it is far from perfect, Suffer the Night is an enjoyable gameplay experience for fans of horror titles. The scares are mostly well done, though players may be divided on the different directions it takes. Puzzles are a bit on the easy side, but I personally like them. However, the combat sections feel kind of unnecessary and they don't add much. I also wasn't big on the one-hit deaths while trying to avoid traps or the boss encounters, but in the end, I really liked this game quite a bit. It's scary, and ultimately, despite its shortcomings, it's just fun. If you love the horror genre and are looking for something a bit different, give Suffer the Night a try. I think you'll find plenty to like here.
Please insert 1 token for admission onto the ride.